Coming up ahead on 9 News at noon, D.C. has a new school superintendent. We'll tell you who he is and where he is from. The return of Joe Gibbs is causing big changes at FedEx Field. And we now know what made students and staff ill at the University of Maryland. Howard.
JC, hot and sticky. Storms may get us today, and then Bonnie and Charlie aiming toward Florida could impact our weather as we head toward the weekend. All the details coming up. 9 News at noon starts right now.
Serving Virginia, Maryland, and the district. This is WUSA 9 News at noon.
Welcome to 9 News at noon. I'm Tracy Hayward. 9 News has learned that the long-awaited new superintendent of D.C. schools is already in town. Sources say Clifford Janey will be formally introduced later this afternoon, following formal approval from the Board of Education. The 29-year education veteran will take over the public school system after winning approval from a selection committee that included the mayor, the school board president, and the city council chair. Janey faces a variety of challenges, including a shortage of teachers and books. Teachers and principals say that they hope the new superintendent will act quickly on reform plans already in place.
We have begun an era of reform in facilities and curriculum in D.C. public schools that is going to require a long-term commitment and a continuity of vision.
Sources say the former Rochester, New York schools chief was chosen over other candidates because he has experience working with low-achieving and urban children. And new this afternoon, D.C. Mayor Anthony Williams' spokesperson is stepping down. Tony Bullock says he is leaving to become an executive vice president at Ogilvy Public Relations. He will be in charge of the company's public affairs office. A 12-year-old Bull Run middle school student pleaded guilty today to weapons and abduction charges. The Prince William County boy admitted in a closed trial to bringing 2 rifles and a shotgun to school on June 18th. The school was evacuated after an administrator caught the boy in a bathroom with a gun. Sentencing is set for September 29th. 2 suspects in the string of D.C. area bank robberies are in court later today. In the meantime, a 9th suspect is in police custody. Omar Holmes was apprehended yesterday in Laredo, Texas. Holmes is wanted in connection with a half-dozen commando-style robberies in the district and in Prince George's County. A district man faces up to 10 years in prison after pleading guilty to making a false bomb threat against Metro. Investigators say Jason Lewis Foster's telephone threat last December shut down part of the subway system and stranded passengers for up to 6 hours. Mystery solved. Doctors have identified the cause of that illness affecting more than 100 people attending a conference this weekend at the University of Maryland. Test results show that the students suffered from neurovirus. And if that name sounds familiar, it is because it is the same virus that recently sickened passengers on cruise ships. The health department says the highly contagious virus spreads quickly in close quarters.
We don't know whether it was a person, a source, a surface, or a food that may have caused this. But from that point, because of the contagiousness of this infection, it often spreads.
Neurovirus can cause diarrhea, stomach pain, and vomiting. Symptoms usually pass within 48 hours. Doctors suggest that you wash your hands frequently if you think you have been exposed. If you would like a link to the Centers for Disease Control website on neurovirus, just log on to our website, WUSATV9.com. Animal control officials hope that they have put a stop to a rabid fox in Herndon, Virginia. An officer shot and killed a fox yesterday after the animal tried to attack him. The county health department will test the caucus for rabies. It is not clear whether that fox is the one that attacked 3 children on Monday. Doctors at Prince George's Hospital Center have come up with a way to battle rising malpractice insurance costs. The 100-member medical staff has voted unanimously to request permission from hospital administrators to work without insurance coverage. Officials at the financially struggling hospital say they are not likely to honor that request. The Redskins are making room for more fans at FedEx Field. More than 5,000 seats have been added for the return of Coach Joe Gibbs, making the NFL's largest stadium even bigger. Capacity is now more than 91,000. Some of the new general admission seats have views partially blocked by pillars, however. The $23 million expansion includes luxury seats, more TVs, and expanded bar and restaurant space.
What we've done is we've added new seating in all levels of the stadium. Most of the new seats are added in general admission, but as you know, we have a variety of levels of service here, and so some were added on the suite level, some added here on the loge level, and some added down around the field. About 6,000 new seats overall, and we've got over 100,000 people on the waiting list. If we could find a way to do more, I'm sure we'd have people who would be happy to get in.
It was originally planned in hopes of landing the 2008 Super Bowl, and when that award went to Phoenix, then the plans were put on hold until Joe Gibbs was hired. Coming up on 9 News at noon, we'll have details of traffic and weather, and we will have the latest in the Scott Peterson case. And for some people, food allergies can be deadly. We'll tell you what's being done to help consumers better identify dangerous products. We'll be right back. Let's take a look at the roads in the metropolitan area and find out where the tie-ups are. Jim Russ is at our Metro Traffic Center. Hi, Jim.
JC, good afternoon. In Maryland, northbound 295, just before the district line. This is just north of the Beltway. A construction accident. Apparently a victim burned and a medevac helicopter is heading toward that scene. So the left lane is blocked now, but all traffic is going to be stopped on 295 inside the Beltway very shortly. Let's take a look at a few cameras here as we first go to 395 near the 14th Street Bridge. We're in pretty good shape there. Let's go to 395 in the vicinity of the Beltway, where we'll also see the traffic's in pretty good shape. A couple of Beltway work zones, inner loop in Bethesda, inner loop in Van Dorn, both along the right side. And on the inner loop in Greenbelt, we have left lane construction today. JC, back to you.
Thank you, Jim. Now we want to take a look at the forecast. Here's Howard with all the details.
Well, JC, the heat and humidity are back. The muggies have returned, and that means a chance for storms as well. Right now, as of noon, we've got temperatures which are running into the 80s in many areas. As we can look at our weather computer, we've got 81 in National, 82 Winchester, 84 down in Richmond. We're only 70 in the mountains. Had some showers move across Maryland earlier. They've now moved in towards southeastern Pennsylvania, but we will watch for more thunderstorms forming and a slight risk of severe weather from the Storm Prediction Center. It does include northern Virginia, much of Maryland, and portions, or most points, north and east. Strong winds, maybe an isolated tornado. That would be north of the Mason-Dixon line. For us, though, we talk about the weekend and potential tropical troubles around here. That's when I return in about 5 minutes. JC?
Thank you, Howard. We'll see you in just a moment. Still ahead on 9 News at noon, we'll have the latest from Iraq, where a half-dozen people are dead in a car bombing. And then later, we'll have the results of a new road safety study. There is some light at the end of the tunnel. We'll be back. Now for the latest from Iraq. At least 6 people are dead, 10 others injured after a car bomb exploded north of Baghdad. Officials are blaming terror gangs for the killings. In the meantime, intense fighting persists for a 7th day in Najaf. A memorial service will be held in a little over an hour for a Maryland soldier killed in Iraq. 24-year-old Private First Class Raymond J. Falstich, Jr. was based at Fort Eustis in Virginia. Private Falstich was originally from Leonardtown. He was killed last week when a small arms fire and rocket-propelled grenade struck his convoy. Amber Fry's back on the witness stand in Scott Peterson's murder trial today after delivering testimony Tuesday that painted the accused as a liar who did not appear to be grieving over his missing wife. Brian Andrews is at the courthouse. He's in Redwood City with more. Brian.
Good morning, JC. Things are just getting underway out here on the West Coast, starting off with an evidentiary hearing into issues that came up last week that caused a delay in the trial. You'll remember that Mark Garagos wanted further scientific testing, of some evidence that was found along the San Francisco shoreline with Lacey's body. That's what we understand is the nature of this hearing today. And after that, more testimony from the prosecution's star witness.
Prosecutors plan to play more tapes of the wiretaps between star witness Amber Fry and Scott Peterson. In one secretly recorded phone conversation, Peterson said he was in Paris.
He's saying he's in Paris at the Eiffel Tower with Francois and Pascal. Of course, he was not. What a pack of lies.
But the truth was, he was in Modesto, about to attend a candlelight vigil for his missing pregnant wife, Lacey. Tuesday, the jury also heard salacious details of their fleeting romance and his seductive behavior. Even his offer to undergo a vasectomy, claiming he had no interest in fathering a child, saying instead he would gladly embrace Amber's daughter as his own. And then there were the lies about his life, travels, and marriage Amber knew nothing about. Amber testified Scott finally told her in early December that he'd lost his wife a year earlier. It was his first Christmas without her, he said. Scott's sister tried to blunt the stinging testimony.
I mean, we all know he had an affair. That's not the issue here. You know, the issue is about Lacey, and I don't think the two are connected whatsoever.
So, more Amber Frey on the stand today. Tomorrow, there could be cross-examination by attorneys for Scott Peterson. We're live in Redwood City. I'm Brian Andrews, 9 News. JC?
Thank you very much, Brian. Veteran CBS anchorman Mike Wallace has been charged with disorderly conduct after a run-in with the law last night. The 86-year-old correspondent was leaving a New York City restaurant when he noticed two taxi and limousine inspectors talking to his driver about being double parked. Wallace reportedly questioned the officers, and the inspectors accused him of lunging at them after ignoring warnings to step away. So they arrested him. A restaurant owner says that the inspectors mishandled Wallace. Let's take a look at our forecast. Howard is here with full details.
Lots going on, JC.
I know.
We've got Bonnie, we've got Charlie, we've got a threat of severe weather locally this afternoon. And Bonnie and Charlie may give us a 1-2 punch as we head toward Friday and Saturday. And kind of, you know how nice it was last weekend?
It was so nice.
We may be paying for it this weekend. Okay. So let me just warn you now, the tropical moisture looks to be headed this way. And we could get some flood problems as well. Now the good stuff. Let's look at radar, right? Well, that's pretty quiet right now. We'll go over to our radar, and you can see on the loop that things are quiet, at least on Doppler 9000. As we go over to the weather computer, you'll see that we had a couple of showers which pushed through earlier. We'll put that in motion on our weather computer. Please control. There we go. And we've got this activity now moving off toward the north and the east from Maryland, moved in toward Pennsylvania, and everything is quiet at the moment. But I don't think that's going to be the case later this afternoon. We've got 80s across the board now, and very humid 80s, up to 86 in Fredericksburg. It's 82 in Martinsburg. BWI 81, so is Patuxent River and Stanton. And many areas right now, 81 degrees, although in Northwest, we're sitting at 84. Winds southerly at 9, bringing in the moisture, and our dew points are pushing 70. In fact, the low this morning was about 71 in Washington, 69 or so at Dulles. Let's go toward the Gulf of Mexico first. Here's New Orleans, here's Florida, and Alabama, and Georgia, and Mississippi. This looking a little bit better organized. That is Bonnie right now. Bonnie is a storm, tropical storm with winds of 50 miles an hour moving north-northeast at 6. But did you notice this feature? This is going to push Bonnie off toward the north and east, toward the western areas in Florida. They could be strong tropical storm, weak hurricane at the time. Watches and warnings are up for them. Meanwhile, down here, approaching Jamaica, this is a very strong tropical storm. This is Charlie. Here's Cuba. Here's Florida. Here's the Gulf of Mexico. And this, by the way, that's Bonnie there in the upper left. At 11 o'clock, Charlie had winds of 70 miles an hour moving west-northwest at 18. Put both storm tracks on the map to try to give you an idea what's going to happen. Bonnie's going to head toward western Florida here. 8 o'clock Thursday morning, the position just offshore. This might actually be strengthening to a hurricane, Category 1. Looks like Charlie moves across western Cuba, passing the Keys, and then moves onshore somewhere just south of Tampa here as we head in toward the middle part of Friday, because 8 o'clock Friday morning, there it is off the Keys. And we're going to have to watch that. That could be a Category 1, maybe 2 storm. We'll be watching that carefully. The way all this develops for us is the front is pushing toward us, so we've got a chance of showers and storms anyway. And then here comes what's left of Bonnie moving up the coast. We're up the 995, I should say. So Friday looks like a wet day. And then I think Charlie's moisture is going to follow right behind it for Saturday, might even linger into Sunday. So we could get potentially heavy rain for several days from both tropical systems. Partly sunny today, scattered strong storms late this afternoon, 85 to 90. Then tonight, mostly cloudy, fewer storms once the sun sets, 67 to 72. Tomorrow, more numerous showers and storms ahead of both systems. Highs only around 80. And as we look at the 7-day, again, Friday could have Bonnie's moisture. Saturday could have Charlie's moisture. Finally, later on the weekend into early next week, JC, I think we're going to dry out, but there could be some heavy rains around here, and this could also impact the preseason game going on Saturday night for the Redskins. Lots to think about.
Okay. Thank you, Howard. Taking a look at health news today for those with severe food allergies. Knowing what is in food products at the grocery store can be tough because labels do not always tell the story. But now, help is on the way. Dr. Sean Caniff reports.
For someone allergic to soy, these cans of tuna may seem innocent, but they actually contain vegetable broth, which could come from soybeans. Misreading labels is a dangerous problem for the 11 million Americans with life-threatening food allergies, including 4-year-old Zachary Tolbert, who's allergic to nuts. His mother studies labels for words like hydrolyzed plant protein, which could come from nuts, but occasionally she misses something.
And it's so small that you could skip one of them. You bring that home, if he tastes it, his throat could close up, and immediately you have to take him to the emergency room.
And people with milk allergies have to be careful with lunch meats. Some products contain caseinate, a milk byproduct. But soon these labels will change now that President Bush has signed legislation into law forcing manufacturers to list the top 8 allergens on their products and do it in plain language.
The most common food allergies are peanuts and tree nuts, fish, shellfish, wheat, egg, milk, and soybean.
Food allergist Dr. Clifford Bassett says the new labeling rule will be a lifesaver since so many foods contain these allergens.
The FDA has said up to 25% of foods are either not labeled accurately or they're missing certain ingredients that people who have food allergies need to know.
The new labels won't be on store shelves until 2006, but at least parents like Innocencia Tolbert can look forward to a time when the dinner table becomes a safer place. Dr. Sean Caniff, CBS News.
9 News at noon will return in a moment. Several months ago, the preliminary road fatality number suggested the nation was heading down a path with higher deaths. But the final numbers are in, and while there are still some bumps along the way, the road does not look as rocky. Julie Valise explains.
More cars, more people, more miles traveled in 2003, but fewer people died on the nation's roadways.
362 fewer people were killed on American roadways last year than the year before.
The death rate, the number of deaths per 100 million miles traveled, is the lowest since the government began keeping records almost 30 years ago. Even so, overall, more than 42,000 people lost their lives in crashes involving cars, trucks, SUVs, and motorcycles.
We will never refer to 42,643 people dying on our nation's roadways as a victory. But we were bound and determined to reverse the trend, and we have done so.
And hoping a new trend is in the making, for the first time in 4 years, the number of alcohol-related crashes dropped.
Even though we're celebrating today, we still know there's a lot of work that still's got to be done.
Why the dramatic changes? The Department of Transportation says because more people are doing this. The number of people wearing seatbelts is at an all-time high. But where gains have been made in passenger vehicle safety, the trend is in the other direction when it comes to motorcycles.
We lost an additional 400 motorcyclists. So there are these currents that we're swimming against.
Currents maybe, but the government says it believes the tide is turning towards improved safety. In Washington, I'm Julie Valise.
Coming up tonight on 9 News at 5, we will talk about the new baby tigers that are at the National Zoo. Details on that and much more coming up on 9 News at 5. We're going to take another look at Howard's forecast.
Yeah, it looks like it could be stormy late this afternoon. We're going to watch and see what happens out to our west moving this way. Could be some strong damaging winds in those storms. And then we've got to watch Bonnie and Charlie, especially Friday and Saturday, see where the moisture eventually ends up. But Florida is going to be impacted, western Florida Thursday, southern and southwestern Florida on Friday by those storms.
Okay. Gosh. Those storms. Well,
wish I had better news.
Yes, but, you know, we're not in Florida. So, thank you for being with us. Please come back and visit us for 9 News at 5.
Bye-bye.